It's time to take a stand on a paddleboard, that is. Hello and welcome to Volusia Magazine. I'm Amber Patterson. On today's show, we'll take a look at this unique leisure activity when Joanne Magley brings us the business beat. Did you know a new public safety complex is coming to DeBary to serve as a substation for the Volusia County Sheriff's Office? And it was a record-making day when 800 volunteers turned out for the St. Johns River cleanup. Health reporter Stephanie Strong brings us information about the 2015 Health Equity Program, and finally we'll join Community Information Director Dave Byron as he sits down for a chat with Habitat Conservation Plan Manager Jennifer Winters as they discuss sea turtle nesting season. Those segments, news, and more coming right up on Volusia Magazine. Stay tuned. The city of DeBary is building a new public safety complex to provide a larger and more modern workspace for the Volusia County Sheriff's Office. The complex at 79 South Charles R. Beale Boulevard will serve as a substation for the Sheriff's Office in its DeBary Orange City district. At 5,600 square feet, the building will be more than twice the size of the current facility, which is now just down the street.
As it is right now, there are numerous offices in this smaller building that have to be shared. And there are times it gets very crowded when people are having meetings or conducting interviews because the building's so small. The sound travels, which doesn't give you a lot of privacy when you're having meetings and they're trying to interview potential suspects or victims. Where in the new facility, it is going to, as I mentioned before, have a lot of more space. There's going to have places for people to conduct interviews in private. You'll be able to talk to victims in private, and it's just an overall around a better morale booster for not only for the deputies that serve the citizens of DeBary, but for the citizens in general.
The city of DeBary is paying for the $1.2 million project, while the Sheriff's Office will provide furnishings, equipment, and ongoing maintenance. The new substation is expected to open in October.
The partnership that the county, the Sheriff's Office has with the city of DeBary is a great partnership. The city of DeBary took the initiative to build this building for us, and we're very grateful, and we continue to serve the city of DeBary with the best ability that we can. It's a win-win situation not only for the city, but for all the citizens that live in DeBary and for the Sheriff's Office. And it's great. I think it's a great partnership.
The Volusia County Sheriff's Office provides law enforcement throughout the county's unincorporated areas, the cities of Deltona, DeBary, and Oak Hill, and the town of Pearson. The Sheriff's Office has more than 463 sworn positions, 460 civilian employees, 213 volunteers, and an annual operating budget of $72 million. Law enforcement services are based out of district offices in DeBary, Deltona, DeLand, Holly Hill, and New Smyrna Beach. Substations in Pearson and Oak Hill, and a centrally located operations center west of Daytona Beach. For more information, you can go to volusiasheriff.org. A record 800 volunteers turned out in sunbonnets and galoshes to clean up the St. Johns River on a recent Saturday morning. They collected 3,500 pounds of trash from 8 sites in Volusia, Seminole, and Lake counties. The cleanup crews who worked on land and in water picked up mountains of cans, bottles, cups, bags, and cigarettes, but they also pulled in some rather unusual items.
During this year's cleanup, we had a couple of odd things that came in. We had a 55-gallon drum that was floating in the water. Florida Fish and Wildlife boat pulled it in. Luckily, it was just full of water. It was probably just used as a flotation device or pontoon that somebody abandoned and ended up in the river. We had a couple of computer monitors. We had a refrigerator door, and we had some jugs of used oil that luckily never made it into the river and was cleaned up before they were spilled. Yeah, we also had I'm going to call it a science experiment gone bad. It was just a large dome with some antennas or spikes coming up out of it, possibly used to keep wildlife off of a telephone pole. but we have no idea, but luckily that's out of the river now.
The largest groups came from the Seminole and Lake County Airboat Clubs with 150 volunteers and the Florida section of American Water Works Association with a team of 77. Other groups that turned out in force included DeVita of DeLand, scouting groups, school teams, and county employees. The Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission sent officers with 5 boats and 2 patrol vehicles. The volunteers worked a 59-mile stretch of the river from 9 Mile Point Park in Pearson to C.S. Lee Park in Geneva.
This year's event was very successful. We had the most attended event than we've ever had in the past. Over 800 volunteers came out and collected probably close to 4,000 pounds of garbage this year. We've already started planning for our 2016 event. It's going to be our 20th anniversary, and we're going to make this even bigger than it was last year.
The annual cleanup is sponsored each year by Volusia County's Environmental Management Division. Learn more about the county's wide range of environmental efforts at volusia.org. The news continues to be positive at Daytona Beach's International Airport. Passenger traffic at the airport increased 1% in March compared with March of 2014. Passenger traffic rose from 63,146 last March to 63,680 this year, an increase of 1%. On a year-over-year basis, for the year ending March 31st, traffic is up 4% over the prior 12 months from 609,108 to 634,702. Steve Cook, the airport's Director of Business Development, said he expects for the positive trend to continue.
The market here is stable and it's got momentum and it's moving upward, we think, for 2015. We'd like to see a little bit higher load factor. Load factor was only 91%. Was 94% last year, but I think that's going to keep moving in the right direction. So we were pleased, and we're looking forward to the rest of the year.
The airport's 2 primary commercial airlines, Delta Airlines and U.S. Airways, during March reported 91% of available seats filled during the month. This is a decrease of 3% from March a year ago. And, of course, in case you haven't heard, last month JetBlue Airways announced it's coming to Daytona Beach International Airport with new nonstop service between Daytona Beach International Airport and JFK International Airport next February. We'll be talking a lot more about this as we get closer to the start of service and fares go on sale. If you're thinking about taking a trip, check out fares from Daytona Beach. If you want more information, the website is flydaytonafirst.com.
I'm Volusia County Chair Jason Davis. The University of Central Florida is running a very successful business incubator at Daytona Beach International Airport in partnership with Volusia County. The UCF Business Incubation Program is a collaboration in economic development between UCF and the Florida High-Tech Corridor Council, which links startup companies with experienced professionals and provides access to educational programs that lead them to business success. The goal of the incubation program is to offer a supportive environment to inspire the entrepreneurial spirit, accelerate business growth, and create local employment opportunities. For more information, visit www.incubator.ucf.edu.
Stand-up paddleboarding is growing in popularity, and that means more business for area manufacturers. Reporter Joanne Magley has more in this week's Business Beat.
Whether it's the St. Johns River, the Intracoastal Waterway, or the Atlantic Ocean, virtually any waterway provides a perfect spot for the growing sport of stand-up paddleboarding. It's growing so much that a 2013 report from the Outdoor Industry Association ranked it the #1 outdoor sporting activity with the most first-time participants of any in the United States.
If you put it over your head, your arms are at 90 degrees.
Okay.
That's how far you want the paddle to be.
David Rush, CEO of U.S. Boardco in Edgewater, says the growth is so significant the company changed its business model.
We were a surfboard building company to begin with,
and we saw an opportunity to pursue building stand-up paddleboards. And it's grown from there, and now we not only build our brand of Water's Edge, but we build our in-house Erie wakeboards and Erie surfboards, as well as building for 4 or 5 other large manufacturers of stand-up paddleboards and subsurfs.
There's a lot of reasons why stand-up paddleboarding is growing in popularity. It provides a great core workout and at the same time gets you closer to nature than many other activities. Rush says stand-up paddleboards account for 85 to 90% of the company's manufacturing, with the production of 4,000 to 5,000 a year. He says much of U.S. Boardco's success is because they are made in the USA.
Most boards that you see being used by the stand-up paddle world right now are molded boards that come from China. Everything that we currently do is a hand-laminated board, all hand-shaped and hand-laminated here at our factory in Edgewater. We want to be competing and draw the market back to the States, so we're developing a new and modified molding process that we plan on starting production in the next 60 to 90 days.
That new technology means an expansion, doubling the size of the factory and the 25-person workforce. And production of the stand-up paddleboards will also double within the next 2 years to 10,000. Not only does U.S. Boardco handcraft all their boards, they have one of the top shapers on the East Coast.
We're in Edgewater because Erie People started his surfboard building business here over 25 years ago. Erie Peoples has been a surfboard shaper, designer, and builder for 25 plus years. His father was involved with him prior to that. He's built over 17,000 surfboards and sold and distributed all up and down the east coast of the United States, Costa Rica, Puerto Rico. They're kind of all over, and it's kind of funny. We've taken surf trips to different locations, and people are still, surfing on Erie surfboards, and it's fun to watch and pick out our boards.
Recreational stand-up boards retail from $1,300 to $1,500. And racing stand-up boards retail for $2,500 to $3,000. But Rush says it's an investment that pays off.
Once you make the initial investment, you have no further investment. You can load it onto your car or your trailer, and you can go and paddleboard with no additional expense. You can take the family, you can go into pretty much any body of water. It's not restricted. And as long as you have the proper equipment and are in compliance with the laws, you can paddle anywhere you want.
For the Business Beat, I'm Joanne Magley.
The Florida Department of Health in Volusia County, Bethune-Cookman University, and Florida Hospital Memorial Medical Center hosted the 2015 Health Equity Program recently. This event attracted more than 100 community partners and public health workers, all coming together to find ways to reduce and eliminate racial health disparities. Stephanie Strong has more in this segment of Community Health Matters.
It's been 30 years since the Heckler Report, U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Secretary Margaret Heckler's report that focused on the health disparities that existed in communities nationwide.
The Heckler Report was just a groundbreaking endeavor, and it really raised the consciousness and the thoughts of the American people around what health disparities even meant, and the plight of the health status of our minority population.
Health disparities adversely affect groups of people who have systematically experienced greater obstacles to health based on their racial or ethnic group, religion, socioeconomic status, gender, age, mental health, cognitive, sensory, or physical disability, geographic location, or other characteristics historically linked to discrimination or exclusion. More than 100 community partners and public health workers gathered for the annual Health Equity Program hosted by the Florida Department of Health in Volusia County, Bethune-Cookman University, and Florida Hospital Memorial Medical Center. The theme, 30 Years of Advancing Health Equity, the Heckler Report, a force for ending health disparities in America, sparked discussion.
We're doing a lot better. Over the last 30 years, The HIV/AIDS community has seen an increase in the number of doctors wanting to provide care treatment to those individuals positive with HIV. There's been more community-based organizations that have opened up to address specific issues surrounding HIV and AIDS, but there's still more work that can be done. There's still additional services that need to be provided throughout the community. There's still more education and prevention that needs to be provided also.
Well, I think it's very helpful. Anytime you get providers and concerned citizens in the same room, you cover a lot of topics that sometimes don't get talked about.
In 1985, the Heckler Report identified the following 6 areas of health concern: cancer, cardiovascular disease and stroke, chemical dependency related to cirrhosis of the liver, diabetes, homicides and accidents, and infant mortality.
One of the things we certainly recognize at Bethune-Cookman is that what we need to do is to put together the infrastructure to make sure that we have listened to our communities and have really identified what programs and their priorities are as we go forward with building programs. And that's why we now have at the college or at the university, we now have the Institute for Community Engagement, so that it will be a coordinated effort that involves our community partners, including the health department, including the police department, and most of the people that were here attending this wonderful conference, as we move forward to saying, how do we develop programs that are sustainable, that have had community input, which is what we heard with the HIV and AIDS, and also that we've assessed the impact on our communities. That's what's next.
Health equity is the attainment of the highest level of health for all people. Achieving health equity requires valuing everyone equally with focused and ongoing societal efforts to address avoidable inequities, historical and contemporary injustices, and the elimination of health and healthcare disparities.
How do we really fix it? What are we doing as a society to fix it? Because it really is tied to where people live, what their education is, how much money they make, their literacy, and crime in their neighborhood. So that's the last piece now that we really have to master and pull together so that we can really achieve health equity.
For Volusia Magazine, I'm Stephanie Strong, Public Information Officer for the Florida Department of Health in Volusia County.
For more information about this and any other health-related issues, you can log on to volusiahealth.com. Well, it's time now to head into the studio to join our very own Community Information Director, Dave Byron, as he sits down with Habitat Plan Manager Jennifer Winters for their discussion on sea turtle nesting season.
Thanks, Amber, and hi, everyone. The 2015 turtle nesting season for Volusia County beaches begins May 1st. This 5-month observation of turtle nesting habits is closely watched by Volusia County and, in particular, key staff of the Environmental Management Division. Jennifer Winters, our Habitat Conservation Plan Manager, is with us today to discuss what we can expect this turtle season and how residents and visitors can help facilitate the successful nesting of these and other coastal animals. Jennifer, how are you doing today?
I'm great. Good morning.
Hey, thanks for being with us. It seems hard to believe we were just talking to you yesterday about turtle nesting season, and here we are again. Hey, it runs through May 1st through October 31st. What's the significance about turtle nesting season, Jennifer?
Well, it's a great time of year when our sea turtles will emerge from the ocean at night to lay their nests all along our county beaches.
And of course, May 1 through October 31st is typically what we call the season. But I think you were telling us before we even started taping, you've already got nests on the beach.
Right. These turtles can't read. They don't realize that they've started early already. We have 4 nests this year.
And so what do you want citizens to do if they see a nest on the beach? What does that mean for citizens out there?
Well, we clearly mark all of our sea turtle nests,
right.
So they're posted with tape and signs, and so we just ask people to sort of stand back and don't go inside the barrier. And at night, it's important to keep your lights low along the beach.
So let's look at last year, 2014. How did we do last year in the number of nests, and what was the story with the statistics?
We had an average year. We had 428 nests total. An average year is between 400 and 500. A few years ago, we had almost 900 nests.
Right.
So we were right in line with our average. The one unusual thing that we did have happen was we had these rare Kemp's Ridley sea turtles. We had
Right.
2 nests by the Kemp's Ridley last year.
Why, one of the rarest of all turtles.
Right.
Speaking of that, what type of turtles do we commonly find on Volusia County beaches?
Most commonly is the loggerhead sea turtle, and they'll nest in the hundreds. So we usually have over 400 loggerhead nests.
And how big can a loggerhead grow?
They can get a few hundred pounds. They get
Yeah,
quite
I mean,
large.
they're big guys.
Right, and you know, sea turtles they don't fit into the regular stereotype for turtles. They're not slow. They're very fast and strong swimmers, designed to, you know, migrate for thousands of miles around the world's oceans.
And they can live for a long time as well, can they not?
Yes, they can.
Jennifer, so how do you go about, you know, counting the number of nests and marking all of this? I mean, what's the process for doing this?
It's a really big undertaking, mainly done by volunteers, working with a couple of nonprofit organizations in Volusia. And these volunteers go out every morning just before sunrise, and they start to, you know, look on the county beaches for new tracks from nesting turtles.
Right.
And so we can determine what species of turtle laid a nest or whether they didn't lay a nest.
Right.
And every morning those nest areas are marked off before our beaches are open to the public driving.
Jennifer, so there is a federally approved plan for all of this. The county does have a very sophisticated management system for these endangered species. Give us in general terms, you know, how the plan works and what its purpose is.
Okay. Well, the baseline is a permit for our beach driving activity, because that potentially is harmful to you know, sea turtles and their nesting habitat, which is, of course, the most important part of their life cycle, is the reproduction when they're laying their eggs along our beaches.
Because they are, some of these turtles are endangered species.
Yes, all sea turtles are listed as either endangered or threatened.
Right.
So we have these efforts in place, and with the permit, it requires that you create what's called a habitat conservation plan.
Right.
And so that's what I manage, is our HCP, and it outlines all of the things that we're going to do to protect our habitat and our sea turtles and other listed species, in concert with having millions of vehicles driving on our beaches every year. And it's been a very successful program, and is one of the reasons we're allowed to continue beach driving.
Yeah, and I'm glad you pointed that out. The plan itself kind of, I guess, you know, levels of playing field between humans and the species that live along the beach.
Right, it does. And you know, we have to do mitigation, and occasionally we have had impacts to sea turtles, unfortunately, but those numbers are very low.
Right.
And our numbers, which are much higher, are those turtles that we rescue and rehab and release through the Marine Science Center efforts.
You know, one of the components of this, Jennifer, and one of the reasons why we talk about this is because when May 1st comes around, that night lighting ordinance kicks in, and that, you know, applies up and down throughout the beaches. Tell us about the night lighting ordinance. What does it do, and why is it in place?
Well, the sea turtle lighting ordinance is in place because artificial lighting is disruptive to the sea turtles as they're nesting along our beaches. Bright lights can both deter turtles from using our beaches, but also disorient the hatchlings as they're emerging from the nests. And as I mentioned before, lead them into the wrong direction. Other than the ocean, sometimes, you know, turtles are misled up vehicle ramps or into storm drains. So we ask our residents to minimize the lights that are visible from the beach.
Right.
And the ordinance requires that no sources of light be visible, and that you do things such as shield your lights and redirect them onto the property, and try to reduce the amount of light that's coming onto the beach.
Yeah, and let's be specific about that, because if people are not familiar, what I think I understood you to say is that unnatural light, you know, lights from structures or, you know, bright lights from the cities and so forth, can actually cause the hatchling turtles to go in the wrong direction. They get confused because I guess they're guided by the moonlight or the natural light. Is that what you're saying? They go in the wrong direction?
Right, correct. In you know, a purely natural environment, the brightest horizon would be the reflection of the moonlight over the ocean.
Right.
So instinctually, that's the direction they would go. But when you have, you know, an urbanized area with a lot of artificial lighting, they'll still head in the brightest horizon, which unfortunately sometimes would be locations other than the ocean, because those bright lights basically overshine the reflection of the water.
Good explanation. Thanks for that. For those folks out there that may be new to this and that sort of thing, let's say you just bought a home along the beach and you don't know how to comply with the ordinance, are there certain types of light or certain types of shading and so forth that people can purchase and use that are in compliance with the ordinance?
Certainly, there's a lot of sea turtle friendly fixtures on the
Right.
market, and some of them will work, in certain locations, and we have staff available to help choose the proper fixtures for the proper locations. But basically, it boils down to a shielded fixture that would be directed onto your property into the area where the light's needed, and avoid, any kind of really bright lights that are shining out onto
Sure.
the beach.
Now, part of your responsibility, I think, is to make sure that the ordinance is enforced. The county's Environmental Management Division is responsible for that. And so how do you ensure that the ordinance is enforced properly?
Well, we do proactive nighttime surveys along the beach. A lot of times we're going to the sea turtle nest locations throughout the summer as
Right.
they're laid to look for any problematic lighting to try to get those things resolved before the nest hatches. And we start with education.
Right.
So we've got a ton of different types of educational material that can be provided into hotel and condominium units, as well as doing on-site meetings with people to try
Right.
to educate them on how they can correct the lighting.
I know, Jennifer, when the night lighting ordinance went into effect years ago, I mean, there were some problems with compliance, and it took I guess the public a while to adjust. Do you still have violations out there, or are people pretty much in sync with this now?
Well, we do still have some violations. So every year we're busy, especially right at the beginning of May.
Right.
Some people to choose to turn off lights during the nesting season,
Right.
which we don't really encourage. But if they do choose to do that, sometimes they need a reminder that May 1st is here and they need to make their adjustments for the season.
I guess if you choose to be obstinate about this, you can end up with some sort of a citation, can you not?
Right. Ultimately, we can, use our code enforcement board process, which is a civil process, which ultimately can result in fines.
Right. Well, Jennifer, for people out there that would like more information about sea turtles or sea turtle enforcement or the whole night lighting ordinance, that sort of thing, how do people get more information?
The easiest way is probably to go to our website at www.volusiaseaturtles.org. And we'd be happy to meet with anybody and do an on-site consultation if needed.
Well, Jennifer, I want to thank you for sharing the information with us. A great job out there, a very important part of the coastal environment, making sure that we do everything to protect our natural habitat and our species and so forth. So thanks for sharing the information.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Our guest today is Jennifer Winters with Volusia County Environmental Management. And with that, we'll go back to you, Amber.
Thanks, Dave, and thank you for watching Volusia Magazine. If you have any questions about the show, you can feel free to give us a call at any of the numbers you see listed here, or you can log on to volusia.org and click on the News tab at the top of the screen to find us. Incidentally, you can find the County Council's meeting calendar there too. In fact, you can use volusia.org to find out about meeting dates, workshops, topics of interest, activities, and how you can become involved. And we hope you won't forget to listen to Volusia Today. That's Volusia County Government's weekly public radio broadcast. Volusia Today airs every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Sunday mornings on the local radio stations you see on your screen. For Volusia Magazine, I'm Amber Patterson. Have a wonderful evening.